Welcome to Uncover Your Story, the podcast that empowers you to share your story with courage and joy and increase your impact in the world. I'm your host, Sarah Orton, and I'm a brand photographer, storyteller, and content creator. By drawing on my 20 years of experience and talking to guests, we'll be diving deep into the art of communicating through story. I'm here to help you build your communications toolkit with actionable tips, strategies, and insights to uncover your full storytelling potential. Let's go. Today's guest is CiCi Goktas. She is a holistic health coach whose mission is to guide women in building a mind-body connection strong enough to dampen the noise of the modern world and elevate themselves into being the expert over their journey through womanhood. I met CiCi about 18 months ago when she booked a photo shoot with me, and I have to say it was one of the most fun shoots ever, but we'll get to that later. CiCi's business is called The M Coach, and she's passionate about supporting women through matrescence, motherhood, and menopause. As the M Coach, she hangs out mostly on Instagram, where she shares personal and powerful stories that help other women feel seen and heard. As well as coaching, she teaches yoga and she holds women's circles, where she offers space for women to share their stories. CiCi is a powerful communicator who knows the power of sharing her own story. She's become a dear friend of mine over the past year or so, and I've attended her women's circles, and I'm so excited for you to hear from her today.
Thank you for having me. That's such a nice intro.
So we're going to go straight into our quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. I think so.
Creative, changemaker, or big-hearted rebel? Which do you most resonate with?
Big-hearted rebel, definitely.
I can see that. What words do you choose to live by?
Authenticity, honesty, which I've kind of interchangeable, I'd say. Real.
If your life was a book, what would the title be?
Oh, this is tough. Keeping it real.
What song gets you on the dance floor?
Any. I don't need an invitation to get onto the dance floor. If it's old school hip hop or even like blue, anything at all.
What's a daily ritual or habit you can't live without?
I get myself ready before I help anybody else. Like my face is on before I even ask the kids what they want for breakfast.
Right. Thank you for that. So listeners have a bit of a flavour about who you are. And now we're going to dive into the bigger, deeper questions. So as founders and business owners, one of the most important stories we can communicate with our potential clients is our why. It's often said people don't just buy what you offer, but they buy why you do what you do. So when you founded your business, the M Coach, what was your why?
Still the same thing. The why has always been quite consistent. And that is, I went through such a journey trying to find answers and help. And I just felt really alone. So my why is to make sure that other women don't feel so alone, that they feel like they've got somebody to turn to say, try this, or what about that? Or have you considered that this might be going on? It's like when I was a little girl, I always wanted to have a bigger sister. I think a lot of us always wanted to have a big sister. Somebody just sort of just guide and lead us.
Yeah.
So it's like being the big sister or just being the friend that I wish I had on my journey. That's my why. I don't want women to feel so alone.
Yeah. And are you referring in particular to, so one of the things you do is you support women is matrescence, but not everyone may be completely familiar with that term. So do you want to just explain a bit about that?
Yeah, matrescence is the transition into and through motherhood. So there's a huge shift when you become a mother, and you might feel it in sort of your social interactions, or in your relationship, or in your body, or in your identity, or in all of these things. But there's a huge sort of shift that a woman goes through, and that is matrescence. So it has a name, and it's a really important thing, I think, for women to know. Because if you don't, you're like, why is it not so enjoyable as it was kind of painted out that it should be? It's a journey.
Mm-hmm. And so becoming a mother, that was for you the big thing, that was your why. So it's going through that. And how old are your kids?
Yeah, so that was my first real sort of initiation, I'd say. It was like the step one of my journey. My kids are soon to be 7. and 11.
Mhm.
So yeah, now I've been in it and my matrescence continues because it's not just in those baby stages. They keep changing. And
Mhm.
so your matrescence journey continues along the way.
Yeah, great. So you've created an incredibly powerful personal brand, very much like around using, you as a person to share your stories, your own life, openness, and especially when it comes to daily struggles, whether that be in dealing with your own menopause journey or in juggling life and the demands of career and motherhood and the importance of self-care, as well as the particular challenges of being a mother to a neurodivergent child. So, how do you find it sharing those deeply personal stories? And can you give listeners an example of a story that you shared that was particularly resonated with your audience?
Yeah, I think like I said, I live by honesty and authenticity. I can't really be anything other than that. I'm kind of always been an open book.
Hmm.
I don't have as much of a filter as maybe I should. Maybe that's my odd. Um, but it's just who I am, and it's how my energy is. So I've never seen it as anything particularly special or different.
Mhm.
It's just who I am.
Yeah.
But in sharing my stories, I've been able to share the journey that I've gone through. And I think between becoming a mother, going through my matrescence initially, to then with my second, I went from postpartum straight into perimenopause. So I was sort of hit with this onslaught of hormonal changes.
Yeah.
And then as my youngest started to develop by about the age of 2, we were quite thrust into the world of I think there might be something more happening. And comes to find out, we've, after 4 years, finally have diagnoses of autism and ADHD. So he would be considered ADHD, the convergence of the two. So really kind of thrown into the deep end, like many parents, into this neurodivergent world. And I think yeah, the M coach has sort of evolved along the way with me. It's really grown and it's shifted and my focus and my own healing and my own kind of support journey has evolved with that. And I've let the M coach kind of go alongside me and whatever's
Mhm.
going on.
Mhm.
And so probably the message that has resonated the most or was also the hardest to share, which is the struggles that I have with my son, because it's a very deeply personal thing. It's quite emotive, quite hard to come to grips with yourself as a parent. And then to figure out how to share that. For a long time, I was keeping it quite secret because I didn't feel like it was my story to tell until I realized that my story is 100% entwined in his own story. And I do still really try to protect my child and not share anything
Mhm.
that, he wouldn't want to have shared. Equally, it is a journey that a whole family goes on. And as a parent and as a mother, it's an incredibly challenging path to walk, really. So I have felt very alone in that. And I know that other women would feel that. So that's probably been the one that's resonated the most because I think people have recognized that it's a really hard story to share,
Mm.
but it's absolutely a story that needs to be told so that we can, just like with menopause, just like with the transition into motherhood, these are all things that we, innately want to kind of keep closeted,
Mhm.
but they have to come out. They have to be spoken about in order to be navigated really holistically or like really like healthily, I guess is the word
Yeah.
I'm looking for. If we
Mm.
keep it closeted in shame, then it takes on a life of its own within us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really that point about the shame is I think that's so true. And it's the more we can be open, isn't it? The more we share, it takes that away. And it
Mm.
takes brave people like you being able to do that on social.
Thank you.
But so,
Yeah. I think it's really important just to be honest at all
mhm,
times.
mm,
If somebody asks me, how are you? I don't always say I'm fine.
yeah,
I'm not fine, but I'll be okay.
yeah,
Like, cause life is hard.
yeah. And like you say, that's the healthiest way to deal with it, isn't it? But
Yeah.
so following on from that, so can you talk us through your process for developing content? So when you want to share your stories, do you share very much in the moment, or do you take time to reflect and craft your message, or does it change to, do you feel do you feel safe to be so vulnerable online? And what advice would you give to other people thinking of sharing very personal stories, whatever the nature they be about?
My process has always sort of been a bit of the same, but has refined, I guess. So I do try to have a little bit more of a strategy, not just openly kind of share anything. It's not like a journal. Equally, I've really tried to like do content well in advance and it just doesn't work for me. I think because I'm like this every day, juggling a million things,
Yeah.
and I can't really show up authentically unless I'm sort of pairing it to what the hell's going on in my life at the minute.
Yeah.
So I sort of go into every week with a little bit of a theme or an idea, and I have, you know, sort of things that I want to hit within that. And if I can do it a couple of days in advance, I do. But my stories are always really off the cuff, really relatable. Like that is my journal,
Yeah.
basically. I feel like there is a vulnerability to being as open as I am online. Equally, I'm of an age, I just don't care. I don't care if I rub somebody the wrong way. They're like, yeah, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's okay. I don't
Yeah.
need to make a million friends. I don't need a million followers. I don't
Mhm.
need the accolades. I'm just being real because there will be somebody out there, and there have been other people out there who have messaged and be like, oh my God, thank you for saying it. That is my life. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's mine too. And it's
Mhm.
okay. And it's
Mhm.
hard, but to feel like you're alone is harder. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I think it's really important to just be real. And quite frankly, I think social media, people are over the scriptedness, the
Mhm.
keywords, the hashtags, the algorithm. Like nobody wants to feed the monster. They don't, they really
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
They're not,
yeah.
it doesn't feel real. So like
No.
how that became a mission of mine about a year ago. Like, how can I
Mhm.
make this really sustainable? How can I make
Mhm.
this real? How can I make it
Mhm.
feel authentic?
Mhm.
Because I
Mhm.
can't have this pressure to create all these big things. So I've just simplified some systems and simplified the message as much as possible, but been able to then see as I go through my day, I'm like, oh, I can see how that relates.
Mhm.
And because I don't plan it super far in advance, it ends up being more authentic.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's strategists out there that say this is a terrible idea, but it works for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and thanks for sharing that, and that's what I want to be able to do on this podcast is share people's different ways of doing it, but
Mhm,
also in a way of like you were just saying, it's about finding a way that works for you.
mhm.
There's so many people out on social shouting that you have to do it this way, this is the best strategy, if you're not doing this, it's wrong, but it's,
The
one
noise is it
yeah,
just it's
yeah.
deafening.
Is, isn't it? And sometimes you just gotta tune it all out, or a lot, and
Yes.
mostly I think it's the best advice generally to mostly tune it out and just go with your gut, follow your instinct, what works for you, find your way. But yeah.
I think it's great to listen to the noise
Yeah.
that's out there. It's great to take things in, but the strongest voice needs to be your own.
Yeah.
Like full stop.
Great advice. So my next question was, and that might be it, but what's your best storytelling tip? Is there what other advice would you give to people?
Yeah. It I think my best storytelling tip is to not just know what story you're telling, but know yourself.
Mhm.
Because you can't actually tell a story if you don't know where it's coming from.
Mhm.
So I think that one of the reasons I can be so open and honest and sort of vulnerable and no filter is because I really, really know myself
Mm.
and I really like who I am.
Mm.
And I think that is the foundation to any storytelling because it won't be authentic if you're not really, really honest and real with
Mm.
yourself. So
Mhm.
when I say being authentic and real, I don't just mean with other people. I 100% mean with yourself to begin with. I think it's the most important thing anybody can ever do in their life is get to really know who you are.
Mm. And is that part of the work that you do in your coaching, or does that come into that?
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
absolutely the work. And I'd say it's probably the only thing that's been sustainable. So it's looked like lots of different things like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
helping women through matrescence, or I'm helping women manage their
Mm.
hormones with menopause. It's not. What it is getting to know yourself. And what I mean by that is because I go into like the health coach, the holistic health coach angle, I look at it very naturopathically,
Mm.
meaning I get to the root. And I want to look at, who are you? Like, your cells, your membranes, your triggers, your responses. Like, what's your stress response? Like, how do you deal with things as I call it birds flying at your face. How do you deal when the birds fly at your face? Like, there are things that you will naturally turn to. Is that the best strategy, or is there another strategy we could find? So it is getting to know yourself. It's getting to know your values. It's getting to know what's important to you. It's getting to know what your triggers are. It's dealing with some of the stuff from the past so that we can maybe unload some of that and let it go. And
Mhm.
it's getting to know your body, like really building a deep connection to your body
Mhm.
so that you know when you're feeling something in your body, what that is, why it is, and what you need to sort of find that balance within yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. That's really, really good advice. And so now just thinking about when we first met and you contacted me about having a photo shoot. I'd love for you to share what prompted you to look into getting a photo shoot at that point for your business. And can you talk listeners through the experience of having your first personal brand shoot, including how we prepared for the shoot and to make sure the photos really supported your messaging and your brand of storytelling?
Right. I got a photo shoot because it's really quite embarrassing, if I'm honest. So,
Mm.
I said I put my face on before I go deal with the kids.
Yeah.
I don't mean that literally. Like, I come out full makeup every single morning. My kids never
Yeah.
see me without makeup, but
Yeah.
there is a vanity element, 100%. And you can see that in my branding because, it looks amazing. Hopefully there's depth underneath it. But I felt that, like, to feel safe in sort of putting myself out there, I felt like it needed to be a polished look.
Mhm.
Like any girl who puts on a red lippy, she goes out, she feels confident, she feels more empowered, she feels like ready to kind of take on whatever comes her way.
Mhm.
That's sort of what the photos were. That's what the branding was. That's what
Yeah.
all of that, building that whole package up for me was quite important. And I probably put that before some of the messaging and some of the understanding. I was letting that other stuff develop quite organically,
Mhm.
but I was like, I still need to put like a pretty image, pretty filter on this. So I did it. And
Yeah.
because I knew kind of roughly where I was going. And
Mhm.
in terms of how we prepped for the shoot, I was just, again, pulling from who I am because I already
Mhm.
knew all of that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a classic red lippy kind of girl. But I also, because I'm dealing with women in their 40s and 50s mostly, I think it's really important that we remember that we're still super sexy. So, don't know if you remember, but we had a lovely Sex in the City style shoot.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. I grew up with those women feeling like they were the epitome of like sex. Like they
Yeah.
were what I aspired to be. They were confident, they were out there, and like they're still super relevant and super sexy. And I
Yeah.
think I always want to remind women that just because, we've got some lines and, we haven't had Botox, like, so be it. We're still super sexy.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe even sexier as we get older.
Yeah.
So that's what went into the prep, which was super fun because you were well on board with that, which is cool.
We were both Sex and the City fans, and yes, I was definitely well on board with that, and I loved it. But you say it was, almost a bit sort of like, oh, I just want to put a pretty filter on it, but it wasn't though, because what you've just explained there, and that's what I got from our first chat about what you wanted to communicate. That's an important message, and that's why you wanted to look good in these photos, right? You wanted to
Yeah.
communicate that just because we're menopausal doesn't mean we're past it. Doesn't mean we have to
Yeah.
wear baggy cardigans, although that is my favorite look. But yeah, no, but you
We
know what
can
I mean.
still
It's
feel sexy
yeah,
and we can put
yeah,
ourselves out there and we definitely don't need to hide behind the
yeah,
camera. We can get in front of the camera. And
yeah.
yeah, I felt much more confident with you taking pictures of me than me constantly taking selfies because it just isn't the best angle. So,
Mm,
and you captured me brilliantly because it was very natural. And because we've now become So I chose you because you were a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't know you that great
No.
before photo shoot. You've now since become quite a dear friend. But I think that familiarity, that kind of feeling like,
Mhm.
you were just like another woman, just like me,
Yeah.
was really disarming. And I felt, and that I ended up just making a bit of a laugh and kind of poking fun at myself of the absurdity of how
Yeah.
full of myself I kind of was by taking these photos taken up myself.
Oh, it was so much fun though, pretending that we were Carrie and Miranda and whoever for the day. Loved it.
And that's fun.
Mhm. So you wear several hats in your business. Like I said, you're a yoga teacher, you're a health coach, matrescence guide. Now taking on more as well a role as a leading voice on neurodivergence and mothering a neurodivergent child. If you were only allowed to tell one story through your business, what would it be? What's the most important story for you?
This is tough because there's a lot of stories I'd like to
Yeah,
tell.
I know.
I think it is really getting super foundational, getting really to the core of who you are, because it doesn't matter which hat you're putting on. Doesn't
Mm,
matter if you're mom, doesn't matter if you're menopausal, doesn't matter if you have a neurodivergent kid. Every single one of us has got to know who we are. And I think, we go out when we're young and we're like, we're going to find ourselves. What we end
mm,
up doing is finding partners and settling down and buying houses and getting jobs and having kids. And at some point, we forget that we're sort of this evolving person. And I think once we get to like, especially I think of our 40s and into our 50s, we're not the same person we were back then.
mm,
So the idea of who we were is not who we are now. And we have to sort of regenerate that. And we have to, reevaluate it and
mm,
remodel it, because
mhm,
I don't want to be who I was in my 20s. I'm much more confident now than I was back then. So I think that that's the foundational story is it's who are you
mhm,
and what are you about, and allowing that to change,
mhm,
because the other message is to really embrace aging
mhm,
rather than fear it.
mhm.
Um, you know, do I wish that I had less wrinkles and these cheek gels? No. Of course, I wish my face looked younger, but it doesn't. I'm, nearly 48 and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I've lived
Um,
an amazing life and that shows, and that's
mm,
okay. I'm not
mhm,
afraid of what I'm going to look like, because I
mhm.
know deep inside that I'm fantastic. And I just
Yeah,
think every woman deserves to feel that.
absolutely. And it's about reframing the narrative in our culture, isn't it? To like say embracing our age. It's a privilege to grow old. And,
Mm.
as elders, there's a certain respect that should come with it, which some cultures are much better at doing than perhaps than ours, really. But so there's work to be done on reframing that, I think, to help us
Yeah,
feel.
the thing is, also, besides just getting older, I think what I learned through this journey of neurodivergence mothering is incredibly triggering, and you get to know a whole nother layer of yourself and a whole other layer of your extended family, because you'll start to look back on your life and sort of see where things kind of have lived and where they've kind of come from. And you have to get really, really honest. And I've had to get very honest about some ableism, some own prejudices and judgments that I had going into this. I was really fearful and again ashamed that my kid wasn't quote unquote normal. Whereas, when I can grieve all of that and I can really get down to the root of it, of like, I know why I'm his mother now, and
Mm,
I know why he's my kid, and
mm,
I'm not going to cry. But like,
mhm,
when you get past all of the smoke and mirrors and the facade and all the things that it should be,
mhm,
and you get really real, it just makes sense.
mm,
And then you don't just accept it, but you love it, and you can face any challenge that comes your way then.
mm. It's really encouraging. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
So, with all the changes that you've been going through in your life and your business, like who right now is your dream clients? And when it comes to connecting with them, what challenges do you face and what has been your biggest learning so far?
Yeah, this is the all of it has been a challenge for me. My ideal client is a woman in her 40s, early 40s to sort of early 50s, really. maybe even 35 to 55, we'll say that. She's starting to recognize that she's not that happy, that
Mm-hmm.
she's a bit irritable and snappy. She's overwhelmed more than she'd like, doesn't have enough time for herself. And because of that, isn't all that excited about the day to day. It's become a little bit mundane. And, when things kind of happen, like her car breaks down or her kids having a breakdown, like a meltdown in Tesco's, she's like, doesn't know how to cope.
Mm.
And she's probably feeling a bit hormonal.
Mhm.
She feels stressed, unable to sleep, has gut issues. Basically, she's tired and she's sick.
Mhm.
And she wants to feel a little bit better. She
Mhm.
definitely doesn't feel sexy.
Mhm.
And I want to help her feel a lot better because
Mm.
it doesn't need to be that hard, but it is when you're in it. So my biggest challenge is actually being whittling down what it is how it is that I help women. So
Mhm.
I know that it's a little bit of matrescence. It's a little bit of menopause. It's a little bit, if you're a neurodivergent mother or mother of a neurodivergent kid, 100%, I've got you. But it's taken me a while to really accept that what I've been talking about is not hormones. It's not identity. It's stress and it's your nervous system. And it's understanding how we can get to know ourselves on that sort of foundational cellular level so that we can support ourselves and build more capacity, build more resilience.
Mhm.
So my hardest thing about connecting to these women has been my own journey of figuring out,
Mhm.
how am I helping you? And that continues to still evolve. And I think, again, I wanted that polished look. I wanted it to sort of be packaged and put together. And then I could just go out there and we all kind of want to do. And I've really had to learn to embrace the messy or organic sort of evolving. And now I'm just sort of sitting in that. Like it's going to come to fruition and it's going to evolve and it's going to be exactly what I feel like it's almost something that I'm having to birth.
Yeah.
It's something that's kind of coming into shape on its own.
Beautiful. So, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Give yourself a break
Mhm.
and slow down.
Mhm.
Like slow the F down. Because I don't think that we realize until we kind of get a little bit to, my age where we're at of like how quickly we're going. We want to get to tomorrow. We
Mhm.
want to get to this next thing. And like, what
Mhm.
exactly are we rushing towards?
Mhm.
Because there's only one finish line and it's
Mhm.
not one that I want to rush towards. Listen,
Yeah.
what are we rushing towards? Like just
Yeah.
slow down
Yeah.
and let things just happen. Like get
Mm.
out of your own way a little
Mhm.
bit.
Slow down is, yeah, such a good mantra to have. Like, life just seems to get faster and faster and faster, doesn't it? It's just like, let's just breathe.
Yeah, I mean, the powers that be want us to just keep going on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
It takes a real conscious, sort of radical effort to say, no, I'm not going to
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm.
And just, stay grounded in your own feet and figure out what it will be when it wants to figure out what it's going to be.
Mhm. And so, for people just starting out with their businesses, though, and wanting to grow their personal brand, what advice would you give them?
Same advice. So
Yeah.
down. It's advice I wish somebody had given me. Just slow down and just take a minute
Yeah.
because there is definitely foundational stuff. The other thing I would say is stop listening to all of the noise, stop listening to
Mhm.
all of the business advice and the marketing advice because, quite frankly, it's all helpful if
Mhm.
you want to create a cookie cutter business just like anybody else.
Mhm.
But nobody wants a cookie cutter business anymore. They want you.
Mhm.
And so you can't know what that is if you're following the same path that everybody else has taken. You'll end up with the same business as everybody else. What is it who are you and what do you have to offer? And
Mhm.
that should be your foundation. Human design has really helped me
Can you
sort of give me
explain
a bit.
what is that? What does that mean?
I'm not perfectly placed to explain it, except to say my understanding of it, which could be completely wrong, is that it's sort of like numerology and astrology and all of these sort of systems sort of mushed into one. But what it's it's based around your time, date, and place of birth.
Oh, right. I didn't know this.
So it sort of looks at all of this stuff and sort of intersects it. But it really is like a blueprint of who you are and like what you're here to, how you're here to show up. So I think it speaks energetically, which is why it really works for me because
Mhm.
it has given me the permission slip, that's hard to say, to just be even more honest and even more, provocative, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make people think. I'm also here to make people like get down to the foundational level and just think really like building blocks. What builds that foundation? We all take the earth for granted,
Mhm.
but like we need it to stand on. So what is your earth? What is your foundation? Who you are.
Mhm.
And then in that, there is like, how do you speak and share your messaging? What frustrates you? How do you interact with people? How do you share? And understanding my human design has really helped me to be able to speak my truth a little bit better. And if, like I said, it's the permission slip to just be a bit more me and
Mhm.
stop having to feel like I had to be everybody else.
Mhm. Fantastic. Thank you. We are at the last question. So,
Okay.
what's a short story from your work that brings you joy?
Oh, I gave a talk not that long ago, actually, at my local gym on stress and nervous system and resilience. And I like taking these big sort of scientific concepts. Science fascinates me. I love to understand how our body actually works, like the nitty gritty of it. But it's quite hard to wrap your head around a lot.
Mhm.
And take these big concepts and break them down into really practical sort of terms. And so I use a lot of analogies. And in that talk, I was just, speaking to normal everyday people in my gym, and they walked away, and it seemed like for the next week, anybody who had come was kind of spreading the message to anybody else who was there in the gym. And I kept getting this feedback from people of like, oh my God, I heard how you talked about your nervous system as like a bathtub. And I'm like, yeah. Did it make sense to you? They're like, yeah. And I just, it's just been so validating for me because
Mm.
I think understanding these kind of concepts on a daily life, like when you're in the midst of all it flying at you, it's what's really helped me. And I hope it's what could help anybody else, because we can pull yourself back from that burning hot scalding bathtub to be in a more lukewarm, happy one that you kind of want to soak in. So yeah, that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, CiCi. Thank you for giving your time for us today. I know you've got lots of exciting things planned with your business. You're developing a course and things. But in the meantime, you work with people one to one, don't you? And you can work with people online. So I can share your website in the show notes. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say
Perfect.
about people if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, no, I'd love to give talks. I love to give workshops. I love to help people rest and slow down. So if it's a talk on perimenopause or how stress and hormones kind of intersect, but follow me on Insta and come and join the journey of the M coach and see where it goes.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, CiCi.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
You're welcome. I just love the way CiCi shares stories about matrescence, menopause, and neurodivergence with zero filter and all the heart. Her message really shows that it's not about being perfect, it's about being real. Okay, here are my 3 takeaways. Number 1, align with your inner truth. CiCi's power in storytelling comes from her unfiltered authenticity and deep self awareness. She emphasizes that knowing who you are at your core, your beliefs, triggers, and values, is the foundation for honest, resonant narratives that engage others. Number 2, tell the stories that matter. Whether it's navigating matrescence, menopause, or parenting a neurodivergent child, it's CiCi's brave sharing of lived experience that helps connect and heal. Opening up about experience of stigma, shame, and loneliness, and sharing with vulnerability creates real impact. It can empower others to share their story and feel less alone. And it's such a powerful way to connect with and build a community. Number 3, slow, real, and sustainable wins. Instead of chasing the next big trend, CiCi advocates for slowing down, tuning into your own rhythm, and using content that mirrors real life. Authentic, off-the-cuff sharing, aligned with your weekly theme, is better for your audience and your sanity than a polished but soulless strategy. CiCi, thank you for being such a natural storyteller and for reminding us that vulnerability, bravery, and self-awareness make for the most compelling narratives. If you resonate with CiCi's work, you can find her on Instagram at @withcici_. She offers one-to-one coaching, workshops, and conversations for women navigating the messy parts of life, whether it's perimenopause, neurodivergent parenting, grief, or burnout. Her work centers nervous system capacity, emotional honesty, and learning how to meet yourself when life feels like a lot or won't slow down. If today's episode got you thinking about the stories you're telling or not telling, and you'd like support in uncovering the soulful, powerful moments within your brand, that's exactly the work I do. You can find more about my brand storytelling and photography over at my website, sarahorton.co.uk, or come and say hello on Instagram at sarahortonphotos. And if you enjoyed this episode, it means the world when you subscribe, leave a review, or send it to a friend who might need it too. Until next time, keep telling your story, real, raw, and rooted in who you are. Thank you for listening. And remember, uncover your story, own it, share it, and shine.